Okay, well, welcome to the Ray and Ben Show.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Ben.
This is going to be exciting second episode. We've got Nicoloff in the house and Dr. Joe, and unfortunately, Ben is the producer today. So he's behind the decks, and he's going to make sure that Chris looks really good. I mean, it's very hard to make you look better than you already do, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Ray.
All right, so what are we going to talk about?
Well, I'm the guest, so you tell me. Give me some questions. Give me some topics.
I think we let Dr. Joe start.
Joe's going to start the conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm intrigued by this musical background.
Oh, okay.
What's happening with the music, and where are you at with it now?
Well, right now, nothing.
Yeah.
I had to, unfortunately, leave my band about a year and a bit ago. Was too busy to attend rehearsal and that sort of thing. But no, I started playing when I was 6 years old. And that was on the back of me banging pots and pans in the kitchen and driving mum and dad bonkers.
So many things to say to that. Just gonna sip it. All right.
And we had an uncle who was a drummer.
Yeah.
My mum did, and she begged him to teach me. So he started giving me a few lessons there, and then didn't like it after a couple of years, and then picked it up at 14, 15, and instant connection with it was playing professionally at 17 in bands, and then after high school was playing 4 or 5 nights a week, and a lot of the top cover bands around town and clubs, and having good fun with it.
Superstar.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen him drum a
Yeah.
couple of times.
If you saw me when I was 25, you would have been blown away. I was
I was blown away already. I mean, I'm blown away every time I see you, Chris. It's that's
Yes, unfortunately, Dr. Joe, not much at the moment. Do miss it a little bit, but also just don't have the time. And the passion has gone a bit as well. So, yeah.
Look, music is just so much part. I mean, you look at right around the world, there isn't a civilization or a culture that doesn't have music.
Yeah.
It's different in different in different
Yeah.
places, but it is essentially universal and touches a chord with people. Like everybody's got a favourite song that they remember, or off an occasion they're associated with that was the music that was played. You know, sometimes it's with first kiss, first met, some sort of celebration. But it's fascinating, music and its its impact on human beings.
well, life, as they say, it's frequency and vibrations, and that's where it's at. So music brings love and everyone together, and without music, I think we will be a miserable civilization.
Agree.
I don't know what we would be without music.
Exactly.
So where is your next gig?
I don't have a next gig. Like I said, I had to leave the band a year and a half ago, roughly.
Right.
And I haven't played since. So, yeah, at this stage, I'm just doing my thing, business and other. And we'll see if I can find time to join another group and play again.
Okay, let's actually, since you mentioned business, I think we should dive straight into that. Joe, what do you reckon?
Yep.
Tell us about your business.
Oh, okay. So accountant by background. So I studied in Perth, become an auditor with an audit firm at 22, and focused on that for about 27 years, including working as a partner at Deloitte for 6 years, which was a bit of a highlight to the career. First became a partner at 32 years old at PKF, but then Deloitte after that, and then took over Bentley's, bought into that, become the managing partner, and sold that and assisted with a merger into Hall Chadwick in CBOCO, so the whole audit division, and then took on something which has been steering me for a few years in corporate advisory and putting together a transaction or a deal. So that's been going for about 2 years now and going really well. So it's still combining a bit of audit and accounting in the background, but sort of the focus has become the corporate advisory work. So, yeah.
So on your way out from accounting, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. That's,
When do you reckon you're going to pivot and do that complete transition?
I think within a year, maybe 6 months.
Right.
So
that soon?
Well, yeah. So it's already been steps towards that already. I've given some clients away and, more being a relationship custodian as those transitions happen, and then that would just increase to where my clients will be looked after by others, and then
I don't know if I've ever met an accountant who's also a drummer and I don't know. Have you?
I get it a lot. Yeah,
People,
a musician, accountants, usually, being accountants are not that.
I get it because more of my look and my but there's in fact the Dr. J. A lot of lawyers, brokers, accountants do play music. Look at our good friend Rob McKenzie. One of a great guitarist, songwriter, singer. So
Yeah, but he's a lawyer, Rob McKenzie.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Lawyers, accountants, same thing.
Now, lawyers and accountants are different.
Well, look, that's
they are different.
Look,
that's fair. And you can throw doctors into that mix as well.
Yeah.
And it is like these are, for want of a better term, cerebral pursuits. Like you're having to think all the time and be analytical in medicine, in law, in accounting, probably in dentistry, maybe to a lesser degree architecture. So that's creative. Music is creative.
Yep.
Like we are, people have multiple facets to their being and their personality. And if what you're doing 9 to 5, and often in positions like you've held, Chris, it's more than 9 to 5. It's probably 8 till 10 or 11 some nights. That is one expression. I'm using my thinking, my analytical skills. I'm working with my clients. But then that creative side also needs an outlet, and that can be found through through art, through music. There's
But
a
accounting,
variety
you
of
can
ways.
get in trouble for being too creative.
Hence the outlet. Hence the outlet needs to be separate to what you're doing with your clients.
Creativity can land you in jail.
Yeah.
In some cases, of course.
That's
But
I do get your point. You would see an accountant wearing a cardigan, a certain floral tie, glasses. There's a certain style which doesn't quite fit me. I get it.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
I bring fun to accounting.
On that point,
Fun with
though,
numbers, eh? I like that.
On that point,
Yeah.
I must say that in our circle, we've managed to actually be friends with the coolest accountants in town,
That's right.
right?
Yeah.
Because we've got a couple of friends that
We do. Yeah.
we know really well,
Yeah.
very good friends,
Yeah.
without mentioning any names here.
That's right.
And they're not the typical accountants,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Okay. So, anything exciting on the business front?
Look, no, it's been going really, really well. Obviously, we can't talk about transactions in the public arena, especially with my role as a sort of middleman between sort of major funders in Asia into Australia. So, it's normally the funding partner that gets to boast about the deal in the media. But it's just exciting to be the quiet little guy from Perth who has put these things. He puts these things together, and then watches the action. Helps out negotiations, and it's
Did you say washes or watches?
watches.
Watches.
Yeah, watches from the
It's a
sideline.
little slip of the tongue there. Okay.
Yeah, and look, that really is, and that's I guess especially Deloitte for 6 years, managing partner of a national corporate firm, 5 years. So always managing people, always helping people, always dealing with issues, sitting on boards, a lot of work in the not-for-profit sector. It was also time to be solo for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about what I'm moving into. For now, it's just great to be by myself, no staff,
No girlfriend.
no girlfriend.
Oops.
Okay, maybe we won't go there.
yeah.
Delete. Erase.
Yeah,
Let's
so,
go again.
and Ray would know I used to be the best dressed man on the terrace like 5 days a week.
I mean, used to be. What do you
Now
mean?
this is just I did this.
This is just your Sunday
I
best.
don't know. There is me. That's normal.
did
But
this for
Dr.
Ray.
Joe as well. He's pretty casual. And like
Yeah,
it's,
so you
you
normally-
did this for me.
Yes, exactly. Did this for Ray. So
Okay.
these days you normally see me in, especially in summertime, thongs and shorts. During the week. Just so it's very, it's a total opposite for me of being in the suit at meetings every all day meetings, addressing staff, addressing clients, functions, networking. It's been a total 360 from that perspective as well. So yeah.
But it's interesting what you said before, Chris. And I mean, imagine being a partner at 32 is quite young. I don't know if that you're the youngest, we're all close to it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned about the audit and the various skills, and you're letting that. I suppose you're moving away from that, and your clients are being looked after by other people. But the skills and how you apply it in your analytical abilities to have to do audit and look at, where is the money coming from? Where is it going to? Does it all add up? I mean, I'm sure that that knowledge and those skills are being applied in what you're doing now, but using them in a different way, I'm assuming.
Look, that's 1,000% correct. You're dead right. The audit background I've got is certainly key to the success in basically picking the right deal to pitch to the funding. If you don't understand a set of accounts, a balance sheet, if you don't understand a set of forecasts, if you don't see the story, you can't understand the potential value. So you don't have the ability to actually do anything. So you're 100% right. All those skills in auditing, big corporations, global businesses, is all part. It helps a lot in that process.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, look, I know that you can't discuss any of your current transactions, of course, right? But what was the most exciting deal you've closed to date?
The exciting one would have to be a blue energy, green energy business. Because why was it exciting? Because it was challenging. Okay, it's a startup. I don't do startups, and I don't have the best network of family office, local, groups to assist with fundraising. But I know a couple, and two have worked out last year in 2023 that I've just found out today are going to IPO. Getting those groups together, investing and closing those out has been fantastic. So,
well, that's the most exciting. I think we need to ask about the biggest deal to date.
The biggest deal there is still ongoing, which I can't obviously disclose. It's if you want to look at number sizes, probably it's going to end up being 400 to 500 million in size. There are a couple of property deals I've got on the go at the moment, which one could exceed $1 billion in hospitality type assets through Southeast Asia. But again, on the go now. So. And look, some of these are very imminent to complete. Certainly the EPC one will probably be another year or so, but the hospitality property ones will be within sort of 3 to 4 months. So those will be very exciting when they're done. So because they are very large transactions.
How much work involved, Chris, in wrapping up a deal of that size?
Look, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of work, especially lately. As I was building a pipeline a year and a bit ago, it wasn't so busy. But the last 6 months I've been flat sacked because, it's even though you're sitting as the middleman, the broker, both sides come to you for help when there's issues, and it comes at all hours of the day. And if you're doing 5 or 6 deals at the one time, which I've got on at the moment, pretty much, there can be a lot of people screaming, Chris, what does this mean? Chris, they're not looking at that properly. That valuation doesn't make sense. But it's more, you're not doing technical reporting anymore like you used to as a partner. I'm just resolving issues, pointing to a solution, a direction, and getting the parties to come back together again. So,
So did you end up finding, because you said before, like in the roles you're doing and you're a managing partner, you're having to manage all these people and being out by yourself, you're not. But do you find in a roundabout way that when they're all coming to you that, yes, you're managing the transaction, but at its core, you're also in some ways, do you find you're also having to manage people and the expectations and what they bring to the table?
True, but it's different because you have 2 or 3 parties maximum. When you're a leader or CEO of a company with 70 people, 100 people, a lot more individual problems, and I can, especially with human resources, the secretary's got an issue with another guy in the office, or there is, and that's you have to get involved. I've had very sad situations where staff have tried to claim their life, and as a CEO, you have to get involved in that. Like it's just, it's very, you've got to have that perseverance to deal with it.
Sure.
all the entertaining, all the networking, plus my client list, plus winning everyone else clients. So that whole BD, HR leadership role, it was great.
Yeah.
But I was glad to walk away from that, So, yeah.
How does someone start in corporate finance? It's not primarily what it is,
No,
or
it's
business advisory,
it's just-
corporate
it's-
finance?
It's just effectively deal making.
Deal maker.
Corporate finance is actually technically doing preparing a valuation, preparing the records for the deal, like the model, the forecasting, the contracts. All I do is, because I've got the relationship with the funding, it's easy for me to have that simpler role of putting it together, doing the pitch, getting the parties interested, introducing them, and then sitting on the back on the back while the funders, corporate finance people, the funders, lawyers, the funders, advisors, and the group raising the money or who needs, they've got their own people, corporate finance people, lawyers, blah blah blah, and so I just sit and watch them all and manage that negotiation as it happens. So.
Deal maker.
And that's why I don't need people or staff. It's really on the back of my relationships, and the skill sets.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't basically prepare a contract. I don't prepare a valuation. The both sides have their own people, and I just manage that expectation.
So do you? I'm trying to think of a good analogy, and I'm not sure this is the best one, but hear me out on it, Chris.
Yeah.
Sort of like being a matchmaker, because I'm sure you on one side you've got a row of finances, people who are looking to invest their money. Because I remember hearing a talk years ago, as a guy listened to a couple of talks, his name's Roger Hamilton, he was out of Singapore, and he said, look, there's lots of capital floating around the world, and a lot of it is looking for a home because you don't necessarily want to put it all in the bank. That's not how people get rich. And on the other side, you've got people looking for funding, but it's making the right match because I imagine it's more than just, we've got some money, we can invest it in you. There must, what sort of things do you look for to say, well, what these people are looking to invest and where they're at matches what you're bringing? Because that's a skill set, Chris.
Yeah. So there's really two things. You've got to look at the initial return. Okay, so whether we're doing debt funding, giving a loan out, or having an equity piece, so them actually buying a part of the business, looking at what is the initial return. Okay, and most of the return is within a 3 to 5 year period. So these are not long-term investments. These are generally up to 5 years, okay? And then the second thing, which is the most important thing, is the upside. Okay, so we're currently getting a return of 10%, but if I get these guys, $50 million, right, what does that release in 3 years' time in profitability? So that's where I've got a skill to look at a model and the business and say, with that metric, with that number coming in, what is the 5 year outlook? And then I pitch it to the funder. And then if they're going to get excited from going from a 10% return to a 25% return, then that's the skill, that's the relationship. Yeah. And that's why you've got to be particular. You don't throw rubbish towards them. You've got to assess it's the right business, the right deal for them. You know what they're looking for. You know the returns, and you make that right decision. Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, are funders sort of relatively agnostic in terms of return, or do you find that certain funders, look, we're interested in health and biotech, or we're interested in energy, or we're interested in manufacturing, for example, or are they often, look, we really don't mind what we're investing in, we're interested in a return, or is there a bit of both?
No. So what I can tell you is the funds do specialise in certain areas. So the funds that I deal with, so the LPs or the shareholders of those private equity funds are multi-billionaire families around the world who park their money with these funds, and that structure then has the ability to invest it for them and get them that return. Okay, so what I deal with is more mature cash flow, larger businesses.
Right.
We don't do startups and tech and that sort of thing. So it's very much a big check size for a large business with upside. And look, the returns, they kind of start at around that 15% mark. So as a minimum, you want to get 15 and hopefully 20, 22. Kind of the benchmark. But that's all got to be for larger corporates. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. So, how does someone become a deal maker? I mean, it's not is it a natural progression from accounting?
No, probably not. You've got to be, I think, entrepreneurial is the main thing. And a lot of accountants are box tickers and in compliance. And so
We're going to upset a lot of people here.
I don't care.
You know, and that's why, I'm
But
excited.
that can also be a good thing if that's what you want to do. You know, let's put that on the table.
Yeah. But that is the reality. Like a lot of the personality type of an accountant is normally to tick
Box
boxes
ticker,
and do compliance work. They're happy with that.
Yeah.
To put together a deal, you've got to be entrepreneurial. You've got to want to create something. You know, again, maybe the music in me is is part of all that. So,
But how does someone get started in that? How did you start?
Well, how did I start? Well, basically, I think it's all the work I've done with China over the years. So as an auditor, helping watch and assisting with inbound investment. So helping with due diligence, government FIRB approvals, relationship introductions for my Chinese clients to purchase assets in Australia.
Okay.
So effectively what I was doing, say, let's call it 6-7 years ago, was as an audit leader, was doing it for free as part of my role. You're kind of introducing people and they're getting deals done, but I'm the auditor of the company, so I'm conflicted out of actually being part of corporate advisor role. So it was at that point I thought this is actually fun, and the whole success fee payment arrangement, which is more lucrative than compliance-based, work, was also exciting, and the fact that you could do these global deals, not have to have a team behind you, no real office, premises.
So being an auditor gives you exposure.
I got exposure because as an auditor, let's just say, any transaction in that we've done in Perth, or an audit client has taken out someone else, or an audit client has listed, or an audit client has raised money through debt or whatever. As the audit partner, you're always involved in that, signing off something to give the funder, the stockbroker, wherever the money's coming from, comfort on the numbers. Okay, so you've always been around that. But I chose I don't want to sign off anymore and do the compliance side. I want to be the guy that puts the people together and does the deal.
The deal
And I
maker.
think that's, But I think that's also, and this is very broad for people, often when they're in their job and they're not happy, it's because it's just not quite them. They can do it, but they'd really be more excited or more at home doing something else.
Yeah.
And you've done the audit and you've done it very well for, 20 plus years. But you saw something else. I think this really excites me. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And other people would look at that and think, oh, this is just not where I want to be. You know what? What I'm doing now is very much where I want to be. And that comes back to there's no right or wrong.
No.
But I think with job satisfaction, it is about doing that which does excite you. I'm excited to get out of bed in the morning to do what I'm going to do rather than, I've got to go to work again today.
You mean the training that you're doing at 6 a.m?
Yeah. I wouldn't be doing that long term. That's very short term with a specific goal in mind, but thanks for noticing. I think that's true.
I had to because he was suffering a little bit. He's on a challenge. 6 or 8 week challenge.
That's 6 weeks. Yeah,
But
we're
he's
1 week
committed,
in.
He's nailing that. So
That's good.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I can't remember who said it, but it said if you're getting up in the morning and you're enjoying what you do, then you're actually not going to work defined as I'm just doing this because I need to pay my bills. I'm actually enjoying doing this, and I'm happy to be doing it.
Yeah.
And that's really for this broad thing. I mean, you can find your niche and you can find what suits your interests and your talent, and you got the passion about it. That's the best possible outcome, Chris. That's great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I don't know. No, I've known you for a while, Chris, and some people would say that we're best friends.
Yep.
I would have to agree.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't see you working very hard most of the times. I mean, you do work very hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
You used to work very hard. You used to work a lot harder than now.
Yep.
But that's, I suppose, the whole...
But are you defining work hard by the number of hours or the outcome achieved?
I think because, so let's talk about deal making and networking. Because we discussed that several times, me and you, right?
Yeah.
So most of the business that and the relationships that Chris basically establishes and creates is been through events, networking, right? Developing relationships with the right people, and that and that happens a lot around socializing and lunching and dining and all this kind of stuff. Am I right to say
Look,
that?
that's 100%. That was, and again, part of the taxing part of the previous role was there was a lot of lunches, long lunches, dinners, attending events, and so that was long in hours. But I actually work more now than I did back then, but less hours. So I'm not doing the lunch now might be like for an hour, hour and a half,
What people refer to as BD.
Business development, trying to wine and dine potential new business, not just for me, but for my other partners back at the time. So there was a lot of entertaining to grow the whole business as the leader of the business.
Sure.
But now that's all gone. Now but I guess what I've done in that role, Deloitte, and the other firms, it's gotten me a lot of relationships. So that's why as a single, as a sole operator, I can get into some of the biggest companies because I've worked with them, back at Deloitte or a larger role, and network well with them. So there's that trust is there, and it's been easy for me to build a pipeline of opportunity. So I certainly don't disregard the audit background and what I've done. So the skill set plus the people, the relationships has made it easier to transition.
I mean, in a different ways, what we had a previous conversation about, everything that's gone before takes you to where you are now. And then the opportunity to use those, the skills, those networks, that knowledge in a slightly different way. And the cliche that's also bandied around is about, working smarter, not harder. But once you can make yourself, you find your niche and you can be more efficient, then you can get a lot. You can get an enormous amount done. You don't have to be there all hours, but you're still getting a great outcome. I mean, you see that, we've been watching a little of the cricket, and, a batsman who times the ball doesn't have to hit it massively hard. It'll go to the boundary because he's just got the timing. And in a different way, and I'm not any use with bats and balls, I've got very poor coordination skills, but that's by the by. But, somebody's nodding. But the same in business. If you've got your inverted commas timing, as it were, to use the analogy, then yes, you can achieve a lot and great outcomes for the people that you're working with without having to work ridiculously long hours.
Yeah, absolutely. But one thing that we discussed several times and we always had debates on, which is networking, is very taxing on the health because there's always good wine around, good food, lunch turns into dinner. And that kind of lifestyle. Now, surely that's heavily taxing.
Big time. And
on physical health, mental health, and I think Joe can agree on the side effects that can have on your life overall.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
I think that is changing. I'm not saying it's changed, but I think 20 years ago, almost everybody was expected to drink. I think these days, people come along and say, "Look, I'm not drinking." People will just, shrug their shoulders. Like it's not anybody's business. You can clink glasses with somebody. Doesn't matter what's in it. Somebody wants to have a glass of red wine. Somebody wants to have a glass of mineral water. It's like, what of it? It's not about what's in the glass. It is about the people. So I think there is, and I'm not saying it's all sorted and not in all industries, but I think there is a trend towards understanding that one can network and entertain, and it doesn't have to mean that you have to eat big and drink big. Again, not saying it doesn't happen.
No.
But I think there's probably there's a bit of a movement away or a better understanding. And I think the next generation, I think probably the millennials coming through, are probably a little bit more attuned to that, perhaps, than previous
I agree
generations.
with that, Joe, 100%. But I think on that scale as well, I mean, we had this argument.
We never
It's gone from a conversation to an argument.
Sorry. We actually don't. We never argue. You're a unicorn, that's why.
But look, what's the previous point? Absolutely correct in what you're saying.
No, but there is two things I think here as well. There is in the last few years, not just in Perth, but I know globally. I think back to my trips to China in 2016, 2017, and working with large government agencies, the parties were huge. Towards the end, probably 2018, it started to die, and I'd heard that the government had cracked down, So things like the whole party lifestyle thing had already started to slow. Then we've had COVID as well. So think about Perth, COVID, Teams and Zoom are now fully respected, and the big corporates only have half their team in the office. So the whole lunching thing is, if you talk to some bar owners around Perth and restaurant owners, they've suffered twice, because in general the appropriateness of corporate spend has dropped, and the people aren't in the city anymore. They're at home, working from home, and then even travel. You would never, I would never talk to someone in Singapore via Zoom.
Yeah,
it's just a telephone call, or you get on a plane. Especially if you're doing a transaction, it's face to face, and it's become accepted now.
Yeah, well, I'm really glad, Chris, that you lightly brushed over the Chinese government and parties very quickly, because we don't want to have all contracts
problems
on us after this podcast. Thanks, Chris.
No, that's okay. Well, no,
but actually, I want to know now more about the government parties.
Oh, mate, they're amazing.
Oh, no doubt.
That's all I can say.
Oh, God. Okay, we'll move right on.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess what I've landed in is a situation where most of the funding is coming from Asia, Southeast Asia, Singapore, some US money originally, and old Chinese money potentially that's landed in Singapore. So the quantum and where it's come from is obviously quite large. There's been a lot of wealth built over the last 3 or 4 years, where most have done it tough. The super rich have become richer, and that's a fact. I deal with Australia mostly, so obviously they're looking at me to find them opportunities here. And I guess it's exciting because our local banks, for example, are pulling away a little bit from businesses in Australia. Certain sectors, they have a different risk matrix, and with a bit of inflation, high interest rates, there's a bit of fear. However, the larger funds overseas are happy to look at that, and obviously they charge for the risk. There's a bit of extra.
Sure.
But my opportunity and my pipeline's growing, where probably local brokers who deal with local banks are shrinking a little bit in their pipeline, because the sort of the big four and the mid tier banks under them do have have had several credit stops or credit to actually invest. So for me, it's all good at the moment. When times are a bit tough here, and there is money overseas, there is a demand especially in loans and debt funding. For me, it's now growing by the week. With all of the activity here with the local banks. So, but the investment thesis is onto fairly safe, mature cash flow, larger businesses that has the pipeline. So that in both sides is growing. So I think for 2024 things are very positive, especially for Singapore. Singapore investment into Australia, there is a great link there and a great opportunity.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's why they call it Australasia.
Yeah, very much so. And it's it is a bit cyclical. I mean, we've seen over the years with banks just here, but internationally.
Yeah.
There's pressure to lend, and then problems come. The GFC, probably the most recent one now, higher interest rates. Then they pull back, they become risk averse, then they find they're not doing enough business, and it goes the other way again. So that's the cycle. But I think there's always opportunities for those who can see them. And what you're saying, Chris, is that there's, you're seeing the opportunities, and the people that you're working with and assisting are also seeing some of those opportunities.
That's right.
I mean, a little bit left field, but I did see an astrological post that said that 2023 was a year of challenges and 2024 is going to be a year of opportunities. And I'll take that as a positive. I like the sound of
I'll
that.
take that.
Yeah.
I'll take anything in 2024. I mean, my 2023. I won't even get into that.
Just onto that, Dr. Joe, that comment. For me, we've been hearing that for a few years now. That was a rough year. This year's going to be good, and it hasn't happened. So I think what you got to do is try and take grip of what you're doing, your business, and just make it happen. Forget all the global media. Some of that stuff's put there for a reason, and you just got to look at your business, what you've got, your relationships, your networks, and just make it happen for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, here's an
very,
interesting
very true.
question for you, Chris, and Joe as well. Because I can't stand alcohol. I mean, it should be illegal as far as I'm concerned, right? I don't like alcohol.
Yeah.
I'm planning not to drink ever again.
Right. That's sad
So
to hear.
let's hope that's the case.
Light
I
on.
know it is.
I was going to invite you to Six Senses tonight.
Well, I'll come.
For a wine and, some
Well, it depends what kind of wine.
red wine.
Shiraz.
Tong Shiraz.
Okay, I'm coming.
Oh, that didn't last very long.
I've seen alcohol destroy a lot of lives, that are around me and very close as well to me, and I've seen it all my life. And from other families and people. I think alcohol should be illegal. Should be like cocaine and heroin. Just ban it. And so is gambling as well. And so is other things. But anyway, let's just focus on alcohol.
Yeah.
How do you think the landscape of networking and deal making and business would look like if you took alcohol out, if there was no alcohol?
Look,
if alcohol was as illegal as heroin.
Yeah. Look, I think it would still work. I think a lot of the some of the people that I've met in the last few years that have really helped me in what I'm doing don't drink at all. They just drink. They will go to. We've had some celebrations in Singapore at very high-end restaurants, and they will just drink tea, not even Coke, no alcohol, just tea. So I don't think it's it's not a be all and end all to getting deals done. I think in Australia, in Perth especially, a couple of glasses of wine helps to secure a relationship. And why I say that is that if you're going to choose me or Dr. Joe or Ben for the corporate gig, it comes down to trust. And Aussies especially earn trust by socialising and drinking. So it's the case of when you have a couple of bottles, you relax, you can really get to see what this advisor is like, because they want to know if I sign with you and halfway through it we get in trouble, how are you going to react? How are you going to pull me out of this help? And so a lot of that ability or signing with that advisor comes down to that trust. In business, there's that term trusted advisor. For all accountants, lawyers, brokers, they're all looped as advisors, and the trusted advisor definition is around when things get tough, can I trust you to do the right decisions, help me out, be pragmatic, find a solution, and not just go that section sort of means that we can't do this and game over. So
I get it.
It is. So basically, it's a bit of both, Ray. It's a bit there. You can definitely do deals. You can definitely network without alcohol, but I think a little bit of socialising helps with that trust.
What's your take on that, Joe?
Look, I think there's two separate but connected things that you've touched on there, Chris, and the key one is trust. And if there has been a shared experience and you've bonded over a couple of glasses of wine, and everybody gets on, that's good. I wouldn't say that it's impossible to bond over a dinner and a couple of glasses of mineral water either. So I would, and look, I'm not in that networking space, so take it with that. So I'm not sure that it is essential. I think authenticity is essential. And I think if from the get-go somebody is not a drinker and says, look, I want to do business with you. You know what? This is what you need to know about me.
Yeah.
I don't drink. Really want to get to know you. We need to get to know each other if we're going to work together, but I'll have the mineral water. And then if that's put on the table up front, it's not, to be honest, if somebody says, well, look, I can't work with you if you don't drink, look, you're talking to the wrong person.
Yeah.
Well, likewise, the other way around. I don't drink. If you drink, I'm not going to deal with you. Well, that's also the wrong approach.
Well, let me prove it to you now.
It's not. I don't think one needs to be fixed either or. To your point, we just have to look at America in the 1920s to see what happens when you make alcohol illegal. You create crime. People network in speakeasies. It's not. That's not the approach. Education is the approach. Will some people misuse? And you're completely right about the damage to people's lives. Cars can also damage people's lives. Knives can damage people's lives. It's how people use it, and if it controls them, it's a problem. If they control it, less so. It's about the user more than the substance.
So will you still
Drink?
have my company tonight for dinner if I come and just sip on Coke Zero or orange juice?
Might need to think about that, Ray.
See, there you go.
Just kidding.
There you go.
Of course you can come and have water. Of course you can.
No, it's look, I get it, but it is. I find it sad to think that it's only through. It's not only through alcohol, but it's a big player in what people think.
Unfortunately, alcohol relaxes the human brain.
Gaining
right?
trust.
So you get to know the real person. So if I'm having a 5-hour lunch with a brand new potential client with alcohol, unfortunately, it relaxes you. You start being yourself, saying things that there's that saying, when people are drunk, they say what they really mean,
In vino veritas.
Yeah.
That goes back to Roman days.
Absolutely.
And that's where it comes from. That's where it's really coming from. It's around, I've just spent 5 hours with this accountant. I know he's good because I was recommended, and there's 5 other really good guys that I've been recommended to. But after this lunch with this advisor, I feel I can trust him because we've had some honest conversation. It's meaningful. I can see that he's this whatever characteristics the client is looking for. It's come out in that socializing.
Well, it sheds that mask that everyone puts on.
Exactly.
Because it's very hard to keep that mask on.
Yeah, exactly.
After a few wines.
Yeah, exactly. But the other side of it, I think, Ray, what you're raising is that some people can handle their wine and some people can't. So when it becomes unsafe, that's a different story. If you're doing too many bottles and you start slurring and falling over and then
there's just such a big
Help me.
Yeah. I mean, there's just such a big difference between having a glass or two over a meal over a couple of hours and going down the pub and having a bottle with nothing. And I think that's where probably Mediterranean cultures, if you look at probably the Spanish, the French, Italians, the Greeks in particular, they don't. And I suspect some of them do go out drinking, but in the main, their glass of wine is as part of their socialising. It is not the main focus. Whereas in Anglo cultures, it's more, we're going out to drink. We might go and get something to eat after, but we're going out to drink.
What you're saying, Joe,
so that is the focus. So the focus should be, I want to socialise with people, I want to meet with people. And yes, maybe I will have something alcoholic to drink, maybe I won't. But that's not the point of it. The point of it is to catch up with people.
So essentially you're saying that the Greeks and the Italians are actually all alcoholics because...
No, I'm not saying that for the absolute record.
Part of every day is
quite the
our
opposite.
culture, we actually got to go out to drink. So,
Mate, you need to listen. I said the exact opposite.
I'm getting in trouble here.
I don't mind. They get it right.
I suppose. I mean, look, a vino over lunch and dinner, it's like 7-Up. It's in Italy, right? Or orange juice. What orange juice? It's red wine.
Yeah.
Good red wine as well.
Yeah.
and you don't get intoxicated on it. Well, some do, but you know, you don't. I had a very good experience drinking vodka in Ukraine and Russia, right? And the first time actually I was sitting down with was my ex-wife's father, right? First lunch we ever had. Bring out the vodka and amazing food, right? And they're having little shots. I'm thinking, when I first got there, I thought, yeah, these guys are hardcore, you know what I mean? Like, he's bringing out a bottle of vodka and doing shooters and, you know. But because of the food and the dense of the food as well and the type of food that we were eating, and we were just sipping on little shots like that. And the vodka they drink over there, the good quality vodka is much better than the junk that we have here.
Yeah, yeah.
And you just, you know, you cheers and you talk and you know, you have a little sip and then you eat and you're sitting down, you relax. Before you knew it, we polished an entire bottle and there was nothing. I didn't feel even tipsy, to be honest with you. That was a different experience of drinking vodka over lunch. You know?
And look, we don't, in my opinion, do the right thing by the teenagers. You want to learn to drive, you start, you can drive, you have to have lessons, you need a certain number of hours where you are supervised, and then you can drive your car by yourself. What do you do with alcohol? You've turned 18, go for it. Just, you know,
let 'em loose.
Yeah. Whereas, and I think some countries, I think this is in Germany and to a degree, from what I've seen in New Zealand, maybe in other countries as well. If you go out with a parent or guardian between the age of 16 and 18, then they can provide you with something alcoholic. And you don't have to, I'm not saying everybody needs to do this, but you can learn under supervision. And then by the time you are 18, it's not like, oh, here's the keys to your car, away you go. You don't have to do anything. So we get that completely wrong. And then we're surprised when it can go pear-shaped for people because we haven't taught the younger people, this is how you handle it. This is how you do it in a responsible manner. And that doesn't guarantee that nobody will go off the rails. It's just human beings. But if you think of the car analogy, we're saying this can be dangerous. You can't just do it by yourself without any supervision because you've reached a certain number of years on the planet. You need to be supervised. You need to learn. You need a watchful eye over you.
That's a very good point, Joe, actually. It's a great point. But do you think that responsibility should be taught earlier on in life through every aspect of life before you get to that 18? Because then you're developing a young woman or a young man to be responsible in every area in their life. And by the time that you reach that point where they can drive, they can go out and drink, and they can do other things, they have that responsibility as well. You know,
I think in these days it's better. I mean, I've got a 14-year-old. So I think teenagers today would probably you're probably better off giving them a little bit at home because of the peer pressure outside the home. Yeah. If you're too strict, they're going to rebel harder, I think, in this day and age versus probably back in the 50s, 60s. Yeah. I don't know. There's probably there's different ethics and morals back then compared to
but that's
today.
a Macedonian, Italian, Greek mentality again. It's just like, you know what, give them a little bit, you know. I don't know. Is that?
But today, I think Ray, and I guess there's no actual experience because.
But do you have to give them that a little bit to sort of, or can you sort of introduce that concept in a different way?
I'm saying if you just say no, don't you dare touch it, or I'm gonna.
You don't have to say no, but you don't have to give it to them.
No, but if you say no, they're more likely to rebel because they're more intrigued and have the peer pressure that's outside the home from their friends could be too much. Then they get, if they don't understand it, don't know how to handle it, you might have a bigger problem on your hand. You know?
Well, I think I'm going to shut up now before I start losing more friends, and I don't have that many already. You know.
No, but I think that's a fair point. If it's this absolute no, then if their friends are doing it and maybe they shouldn't, I'm not supporting that. Then it is more likely that it will happen in an uncontrolled way, and that's not, to your point, Rose, saying that it has to be offered. I think it's very, very, I suppose family, child and parent specific. But as to your previous point, there's an age at which you're going to let your child cross the road by themselves. There's an age at which that happens. There is age-specific activities, tasks, whatever term wants to use, that you're going to let them do. And it's much better that by the time they do it, they've had a supervising, a guiding hand and a watchful eye, that when they do it by themselves for the first time without any supervision or guidance, that they've been equipped to be able to do it. And it's never going to be a perfect world. I think there's a view out there that can be a perfect world. I mean, this probably not today, so I don't want to go down this path today, but, this whole thing of helicopter parenting and the problems that creates is a whole separate thing and wraps a little bit into this, but we're not going there today.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm not going anywhere after that. I pushed it, I think, for today. So, Chris, let's just wrap this up. And look, where do you see yourself in 5 years and 10 years from now?
Is this a date?
No.
Yeah, I think for a meal and a glass of wine, by the sounds of it.
Ben, we have some wine here, don't we?
Oh, dearie me.
Actually, we have something. 1 second.
We have something.
All right, now we're really going off on a tangent, Chris. We've unlocked something here. Goodness gracious me. I've lost my co-host. In fact, I'm the fill-in host. I mean, this is the Ben and Ray show. Goodness gracious me. But no, it is interesting to see different approaches in different countries. And I think sometimes in Australia we think we know better than everybody else, and sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't.
So 5 years time, look, just doing more with what I'm doing now. So transactional space, doing 3-4 deals a year. Me also investing continually into these companies.
I just want to know where I'm going to be in 5 years' time. That's why I'm asking you that question.
Oh.
Well, we're going to be hanging out. Of
course we are.
I just want to know, if it's a good
working
place.
on his second billion, and you're riding on the coattails.
Where we're going to be in 5 years' time.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that.
Oh, no, we're going to be having fun. Blowing shit up.
More fun. I think Ben. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dr. Joe. Happy birthday to you. Pip, pip.
Hooray!
Pip, pip.
Hooray!
Pip.
Hooray!
Happy birthday.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
It was his
Right,
birthday.
I think there's a bit of a pointer in what
days
might
ago.
be in this. This one looks a little
You
bit
don't even
different.
know what could be in this. How do you know what's in this?
Yeah, wine.
Well, the shape is a pointer, but I could be
Disappointing.
wrong.
Oh.
You see?
Could be something else.
You see?
Do I need to open this on here?
What, now, we leave this one actually off here.
Yeah.
but this would be good to open on air because
You want me to
there
open
is-
this one on here?
I'm
I
disappointed.
won't be.
After
I won't be,
all that about alcohol, and I bring out a bottle of wine. It's unbelievable. What about this?
This one?
That's a bottle of Jack's.
This will be
One of those mini bar collection. Six bottles of that.
it's 20 drinking passes.
And clearly
well
I
wrapped.
didn't wrap that.
I was going to say, this is very well wrapped.
Yeah. Look, you know the kind of wrap I do. Is,
There we go.
different-
What have we got here? Oh, look, plugging the, I've got a product placement here. Oh, wow.
That's
there you
good.
go. I thought that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
Considering that you launched the Dr. Joe Unplugged.
Yeah, with thanks to yourself and Ben.
You are very welcome. And
Stand that there.
yeah, there you go.
All right, you want to
So-
pass that one over, Ben? We've got to put that in here as well.
And that's already in there, Joe.
There we go.
That's already in there.
But it's bigger.
No, that's already in there.
Okay.
It's all
There we
about
go.
you now. It's not about Podwave. No, and I think that's a great session, I reckon.
Thanks for
we-
coming in
Thanks for having
today,
me,
Chris.
guys.
Really
Yeah.
appreciate
Thanks,
your
Chris.
time.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And I will see you tonight for dinner.
Yes, you shall.
And we should do this again.
We shall.
Okay.
I'd love
great.
to.
Sounds
Thank
good
you.
to me.